What was your relationship like with your brother and sister as you grew older and as you all went your various ways? You left home. What are your memories of your relationship with Dad and with Marion after?
I never had a close relationship with Marion, ever. Um, Not when we were little kids and not when we were older. And then, of course, by the time she got out of college, she got a job working for the American Embassy in Brazil. And after that, I saw her maybe once a year for the next 50 years or so.
There
Because
was
she,
never any warmth from her, was there? I never felt any warmth from her, actually. But your relationship with my dad was always affectionate.
uh, affectionate but restrained. Emotion should always be held under control.
Was that from him, do you think? Is that what you mean?
Well, he had the feeling, that reason should always rule. Emotion should never rule.
So he got that from Pappy, huh?
Yeah.
May I shed some light on something for you?
Did what?
May I shed some light on something for you?
Of course.
His emotions ruled just fine, thank you. He swore at us pretty loudly and swung at me a number of times, so I grew up with a lot of emotion in the household. Let me tell you, my mother would talk about yelling matches that they had, so much for reason ruling. I mean, this is just very interesting hearing you say that, because that would not be the perception I had of my father. I sensed that he had a lot of anger in him.
Well, I didn't say he felt that way. That was the message he got from my father.
Oh, I thought you were saying that's how he was when you said that your
No.
relationship was restrained.
No, no. My father kept emphasizing that
Right.
reason should always control emotion.
But did the relationship that you had with him when you were younger, did that follow you through life, or did you always feel a certain tenderness or affection towards him, or
Towards my father?
no, towards my father, your brother, Carlin?
Uh, yeah, I always felt warmth towards him. I don't know that we were ever that close, but I think that I always loved him, and I think he always loved me. But it was never a close relationship. Uh, well, when he was little, it was. I told him he used to follow me around like a
Right.
little dog. Uh, but by the time I finished high school, I very shortly thereafter I moved to Florida, and so I didn't see him. And he was 7 years younger, so I was 16, so he was 9. Yeah. And then we didn't live in the same city for, I guess, for the rest of our lives almost.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was living halfway around the world for a number of those years. Did your relationship grow closer with him when he moved back to California over the last 25 years?
I think we always felt a warmth for one another, uh, but we weren't that close. We, I always had positive feelings about him, and I think he had towards me, but we were never a close family, as you know.
What were Nana and Pappy's last years like after they moved out here and you and Sam were out here? And Pappy's, the end of Pappy's life really devastated me because it was so sudden. Hadn't been in a hospital in 50 years, for heaven's sakes. And if there was anybody that his doctor used to tell him, Mill, you're going to live to be 100. He used to tell me that. Pappy used to tell me that. The doctor always says that you're fit as can be. And then all of a sudden, I was here the summer of '72. All of a sudden, he had a pain in his side. And went to the doctor because he had a pain in his side, and cancer was rampant throughout his body. There was nothing they could do. And so, you know, a man died at the age of 79 that never smoked, never drank, did moderation in all things,
Yeah.
couldn't have been healthier, walked a lot. Probably his blood pressure never even registered because he was so calm. And all of a sudden, that was devastating to me. That last summer, I was 18 years old here, the summer of '72. And he took ill that summer. He was in the hospital downtown Los Angeles, St. Vincent's, I think was the name of it. And I went up there, and he was very frail in bed. And I remember, I don't remember who it was that asked me to shave him. And that was an extraordinary experience. Shaving my grandfather, for heaven's sakes. An electric razor, and I remember shaving him. But it was just overwhelming to me. I couldn't believe that this man was dying. Or was so ill. I mean, maybe I didn't even know for a fact that he was dying. Of course, I was certainly hoping he would recover. But that was devastating to me.
Was me too. He was a very, very, very important part of my life.
And then I went to college after that, and once I went to college, I'm not even sure why, I guess because I had to make money in the summer times, but that's when I stopped coming back to Los Angeles, once I started in college, at least spending summers here. So I really pretty much lost track to a certain degree with Nana. And she lived for another, trying to think of, 7 years? Did she live? She lived for about another 7. She lived quite a while after his passing.
She lived to be 85.
So it might have even been, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years after he died.
Yeah,
I've got it written down somewhere. But
somewhere around 70.
how did she fare after Pappy passed away? Did you spend time with her, or you and Sam, or?
I used to take her to lunch every Thursday, because I took her to Bullock's Wilshire. They had a fashion show with lunch on Thursdays, so I took her to lunch there and had tea. But as you know, we never had a close relationship. And all the things that I did for her when she was older, I really did out of
A sense of obligation?
a sense of obligation rather than a sense of love.
You asked a question a few minutes ago. How would Joni look at her life, or something to that effect? How would, if you were to ask her, that she's lived a sad life, or you thought she's lived a sad life, and how would she? You wondered aloud, how would she react if somebody asked her to describe her life? How would you describe your life? And I bet you a lot of people probably ask you that when you look back at your life. I mean, you've lived almost a century, for heaven's sakes.
Eventful.
Eventful? That's the first word. The Rorschach test, that's the first word that comes to your mind, is eventful.
Yeah.
But of course, eventful is one of those words like unique and intriguing that's really a non-descriptive word. It doesn't really show one way or the other. It doesn't really, it's kind of a masking word that doesn't really describe a lot.
Well, overall, a happy life, but with periods of devastation.
Devastation's a pretty darn strong word.
Yeah. It's a pretty strong emotion. But overall, I would say a happy life.
Do you find yourself ever looking back? I do, and I suppose probably most people do. You find yourself looking back and saying, my gosh, I wish I had done this differently, or I only wish I hadn't done that. Or there's certain points. I guess probably with 3 marriages, I could probably think of 2 things that you wish you hadn't done. But do you ever find yourself saying, how life would have been different if I only hadn't done this one thing, or what was I thinking when I did that one thing, or I wish I could undo that one relationship, or
I don't bother much with that.
that's healthy.
Yeah.
The whole no regrets thing, huh?
Well, it's not that. I have some regrets, but I really don't.
You don't
pay much-
second guess yourself, huh?
No.
I think that's the optimist. I think that's very positive. I think it's very healthy.
Well, I had a very good relationship with Sam, and it was very fulfilling and also a lot of fun. And we were together for 35 years, so I think.
I'll tell you, when I look at the great marriages that I have known, albeit from a distance to a certain degree, yours and Sam's is one of the several that I think was just marvelous. You were such kindred spirits. You so enjoyed each other's company. You so respected each other. And I could see that even though I wasn't around you a lot, it was very obvious to me.
We did. We had a lot of fun together, and we really did enjoy each other's company.
But you were kindred spirits. You shared the same values, and that
Yeah.
was so important.
Yeah. But he liked to take off and do things on the spur of the moment, and I did too. And so many things in our life would be like looking at a map and saying, "Oh yeah, we're here. You know why we're here? We could go there, or we could go here, or we could." And then we look at one and say, "Well, I want to do all of them."
It's kind of like looking at a dessert menu and saying, these all sound good, so we'll get 3 of them.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, the funny thing is how different you turned out than from Pappy. Because you're saying that Pappy was the strict rationalist,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you were the impulsive one.
Absolutely.
You went the absolute opposite direction.
Well, when I told Sam that Happy's motto was moderation in all things, I told you.
Yeah.
Sam snorted and he said, "Moderation is for monks." And he was very immoderate.
I was going to say, if there's one description of Sam that I wouldn't use, it would be monastic.
Well, we enjoyed each other's company very much.
But Sam intimidated me because he was a very opinionated person,
Very much
and
so.
he would tell you if he didn't agree with you, you're full of garbage. In so many words, he wouldn't use the word garbage, but he would tell you that, and so I was intimidated around Sam that he would tell me that what I said was dumb or what I thought was dumb or something like that. He was, to me, he was bigger than life.
He had very strong opinions, no question about it. But he was such fun to live with.
But there was a warm side of him that I guess I didn't really see that
Oh,
much
very
that you're
much so.
talking about.
Very much so. We were good to each other and for each other.
Do you think that Sam ever felt that he wasn't really accepted by our side of the family? Was that ever an aspect?
I don't know if he felt that way, but it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, he would have said that's up to them. They can do what they want.